Compliance Services, and today is the 26th of November 2024. And I was going to do a very, very quick presentation on the back of watching a program on the telly 2 nights ago. You might be aware there's a show called 999 Critical, and it's on Channel 5 Demand, and it was really interesting. I just happened to be flicking through the channels and it was talking about quad bikes. And so the scene is a guy is coming into the emergency unit or whatever the hospital was called, I don't recall, and the cameras are all in the emergency department waiting for him to arrive, and all they know is there's been a guy and he's come off his quad bike and he's got some pretty bad facial injuries. And I couldn't possibly show it here. It was shown on the telly, but it was after the watershed, and it was quite horrific. This guy comes in on the stretcher with the paramedics from the scene and the on-scene doctor, and he's been drugged to the eyeballs because he was in a lot of pain, and he's got all his faces bandaged up. And what they do is they peel back, and you can actually see this on the TV. They peel back the sort of bandage sheet thing that he's got over his face, and it's horrific. Now, I'm an ex-army medic. I spent 15 years in the Royal Army Medical Corps, and I've seen some pretty horrendous stuff. That was unbelievable. And it was like, wow, this needs talking about. So I'll refer you to the program on 5 Demand, 999 Critical. I wrote down the series. It's Series 5, Episode 2. There's loads of different stuff in there, but keep an eye out for the quad bike one, particularly if you follow the stuff that I do. You know, I have a vested interest in farm safety, rural crime, and all things health and safety, particularly in agriculture, forestry, and landed estates. That's where I basically do most of my work. And so it really captured my attention. So they peeled this thing back off this guy's face, and his face is smashed to pieces. You couldn't recognize him as a human being. He had one eye down here on his cheek, and the other eye was so badly mixed and mashed, and part of his jaw and these broken bones and all the rest of it. Anyway, go and watch it, and then I'll tell you why I'm doing this little talk. It's worth watching because it brings home the message that if you are involved in agriculture or working on a landed estate, or indeed anywhere out in the countryside, I know lots of people who aren't necessarily farmers, who live out in the sticks, who have quad bikes, just part of their getting around, you know, going to fetch firewood and going out to feed their horses, whatever it might be. Quad bikes and all-terrain vehicles are a very, very common piece of equipment, specifically in farming, landed estate and agriculture, but just as equally in people who happen to live out in the countryside in the sticks. So if that's you, if you or your children ever go anywhere near a quad bike, or as well, if you have employees and you're responsible for their health, safety, and welfare, and they use quad bikes, perhaps that you have provided, then you really ought to do 2 things. Go and watch that program on 5 on Demand. It's no pun intended, it's an eye-opener. And then have a look at the information that I've put together for you. So what I've done, and I'll bring it in now, I'm not going to go through this in too much detail, but effectively, what I've done is I've put together a little slide deck that covers the safety aspects of all-terrain vehicles, quad bikes, and sits side-by-side utility vehicles. I'll just quickly flick through the slides. You can download this from my website, rascs.co.uk, in the news section, and I'll put a link in the YouTube notes as well, so you can get this for free. And what I'd urge you to do is go through it with a fine-tooth comb, watch the program on the telly, and then if you employ people, gather them round and talk to them about quad bike safety and what people need to do to keep themselves safe and alive at work. So again, you know, I've got all the safety measures there for you, clearly laid out. ATVs, quads, side-by-sides, what they are and what you ought to be thinking about. One thing that's really relevant is this free online training. Let me just get rid of that. It's excellent, and what I'll do is I'll show you it. Now, I've done this training myself. I don't particularly drive a quad bike that often. I occasionally steal them when we're engaged to test security on farms and estates around the UK. Sometimes we'll nick them if they're available. So I am trained and qualified to use and drive a quad bike. However, this is worth looking at. Let me share this screen with you, and this is free training that you can get hold of and you can see it's at etraining.atvea.org. That's free training. I'll put it in the links. Free training, etraining.atvea.org. I've done this course, really good. It takes you about half an hour to do it, and it's got videos in it, and it goes through all the safety aspects of using ATVs and quads on the various terrains that they're typically used on. And you can have a look at it in French, si tu parles français, oder Deutsch, Sie sprechen Deutsch, or Swedish. And I don't know any Swedish words. I'm struggling enough with English, but yeah, English, French, Swedish, and German. Away you go. Free training, can't argue with that, can you? That's a bargain. Let's get rid of that. Bring myself back in full picture. Tomorrow or the day after, I've done another download for you. So the one you've just seen is just a general outline. What I've also done is I've put together a very detailed guidance, a booklet of guidance that you can download and again use it as you see. Feel free to share, copy, do whatever you want with it. It's yours to keep. You'll have noticed I've been putting together quite a lot of downloads and other information lately in really crystal clear downloadable formats that take away all the waffle. It just says this is the issue and this is what happens and what can go wrong. And if you do this, you'll be safer. And it's just bite-sized chunks of safety information. And that's my aim towards the back end of 24 and certainly going into 2025, where we're going to focus hugely on education and giving free resources in farm safety and rural crime. So that's me. That's Richard Wade. It's Friday, the 26th of November. It's 2:00 or just thereafter. One final thing to mention, on Thursday, I'm going to be working with Anna Baker Cresswell, who is a representative from High Ground Charity. And we're going to be attending, as we do every year, the British Forces Resettlement Service jobs and the jobs fair, for want of a better word, at Catterick Garrison. But I won't be there with my work head on. I'll be there representing and working alongside Anna Baker Cresswell from High Ground Charity. So if you're in the Catterick area on Thursday morning, by all means pop in. But for now, that's me. That's Richard Wade, urging you to go and watch the 999 Critical program on quad bike safety. Trigger warning, it's horrific, some serious injuries. However, all of them are preventable. And that's why I'm doing this, giving you the free download, the free information that we've just showed. Go and get it and teach your people, talk to your staff, talk to your workers, talk to your colleagues. And if you've got kids who use quad bikes or workers who use quad bikes, do not let them go near them within a country mile without a helmet. It saves lives. Every single injury, head injury, brain injury, life-changing injury that's been caused due to quad bike overturns, flip overs, collisions with trees or gates or animals has always been preventable. And most of the horrific outcomes are limited, if not stopped in the main, by simply wearing a helmet. So that's me, that's Richard, wishing you a safe